The game of chess is all about checkmating your opponent's king. And in this first video of this new series, I'm going to show you some very basic checkmate patterns that you should absolutely know if you play chess. We will also look at some of the amazing games played by chess legends, showing how to play these checkmate moves. I would encourage you to pause the video when you see these patterns and try to find the amazing moves played by these grandmasters. Let's get started. Anastasia's mate is a mate in which a rook and a knight combine together to deliver a checkmate to the king, either on the A file or on the H file. In this example, you can see that this black king on the H7 square, and this knight prevents this black king from moving to any of these squares on G file. So if white plays rook to H4 check, this is a checkmate because there is no safe square for the king to move anywhere. And black cannot capture this rook or cannot block this check by any other piece, hence it's checkmate. And this pattern is called Anastasia's checkmate. Let's take a look at an example in which Magnus Carlsen sacrificed a piece to open up a file and deliver this beautiful Anastasia's checkmate. In this example, Magnus is playing with the black pieces, and you can see that Magnus has placed his knight on the E2 square. And this knight is guarding these two available squares on the G file. So Magnus has to figure out a way to open up this H file. So pause the video and try to find out the move that Magnus played which opened up the H file. Congratulations if you found a very nice bishop sacrifice. Bishop captures G4. Now you have to accept this sacrifice, because if you do not capture this bishop, and if you play some random move, this knight is coming to G3 square, giving a check to the king, and this also opens up a discovered attack for the queen, and your queen is lost. So Magnus's opponent accepted the sacrifice, and now you can see after a few moves, these pieces are perfectly aligned to attack this king on the open H file. So once again, feel free to pause the video and find out the absolute stunning move which Magnus played, which forced his opponent to resign. Congratulations if you found the beautiful queen sacrifice. Queen to H5 check. And now you can see this king has nowhere to go. So you have to accept this sacrifice. Let me show you what happens if you capture the queen. G captures H5, and now you can see that this rook can deliver the checkmate. Rook to H4 check. And there is no way you can prevent this checkmate. The knight covers this G1 square, and this king has nowhere to go. You cannot capture this rook, you cannot block this check. So this was a beautiful example of Anastasia's checkmate by none other than Magnus Carlsen. Let's take a look at Anderssen's checkmate. This checkmate is named after Adolf Anderssen, who was a great German chess player. Now in this checkmate, a rook and a pawn combine together to checkmate the opponent king, usually on the 8th rank. And the pawn is protected by another piece. Take this example. So in this case, if we play rook to H8, this is checkmate because this king doesn't have any safe squares to move, and the king cannot capture any of these pieces. The rook is protected by the pawn, and the pawn is protected by the king. So this is called Anderssen's mate. Let's take a look at this beautiful example of Anderssen's checkmate from one of Anderssen's game itself. Anderssen is playing with white pieces, and Anderssen played rook c to G1. Now you can see that there's a lot of pressure on this H7 pawn, and this H7 pawn is attacked thrice, and it's also pinned, so this pawn cannot capture this white pawn. So in this position, the opponent played king to H8 unpinning, and now f captures G7 check, king to G8, and now queen comes flying in, queen to H6. His opponent played queen to D6, offering an exchange of the queen. However, feel free to pause the video and try to find out the absolute best move for Adolf Anderssen here. Congratulations if you found yet another amazing queen sacrifice. Queen captures h7 check, and now you can see the whole idea. Now in this position his opponent resigned, but I'll show you what happens when king captures this queen. So king captures h7 and this rook delivers a check, rook to h3, and now you can see that this king cannot come to the g file because this whole g file is protected by this rook. So king has to go back, king to g8, and now the final blow, rook to h8, checkmate. This king has nowhere to go and this pawn is protected by the rook on g1 square. And this was a very beautiful example of Anderson's mate. Let's move on to the next example now. The next example that we're going to look at is called Arabian mate, and in this type of checkmate, a rook and a knight combine together to deliver the checkmate to the opponent king. You can see here in this example, this knight covers the g8 square and prevents the king from coming there, and rook can fly to h7 square and deliver this checkmate. There is no escape square for the king to go because both of these squares are covered by either the rook or the knight, and the king cannot capture this rook because this rook is protected by the knight, and hence it's a checkmate. Let's look at a game where this Arabian checkmate was played. Let's take a look at Arabian checkmate played by one of my personal favorite chess players, Vladimir Kramnik, the expert champion, and he's playing against another strong player, Boris Gelfand. Kramnik with black pieces here plays this amazing move, knight to c3, and look at this knight. This knight cannot be captured by the b pawn or the bishop, because if you capture this knight with the b pawn, then rook captures b1 is checkmate in one move. And if you try to capture this knight with, say, bishop, then after d captures c3 and b captures c3, you again run into rook captures b1 checkmate. So this knight is an amazing piece, and this is a setup for the Arabian checkmate by Kramnik. So here Gelfand tries knight captures d4, attacking Kramnik's queen. However, Kramnik completely ignores it and plays rook captures b2, and this rook has to be captured, otherwise it will be again checkmate in one move. So Gelfand tries rook captures b2, and now feel free to pause the video as this is a checkmate in two moves. Find the absolute amazing move that was played by Kramnik in this position. Congratulations if you found queen to a2 check, and look at this queen sacrifice. This queen cannot be captured by the king because it's protected by the knight, hence it has to be captured by the rook. And now you can see the checkmate in one move, rook to b1 checkmate. Gelfand actually resigned after this amazing move, queen to a2 check. So friends, this was an example of Arabian checkmate. Thank you for watching this video. In the next part, we'll look at some other checkmate patterns, and we will also check out some amazing games played by chess grandmasters. Let's enjoy chess. Thank you.